have James Benham, who was the CEO and founder of JB Knowledge, and we will get to hear that incredible story. Thank you for coming on Entrepreneurs, Business, and Finance, James.
Yeah, it's so nice to meet you, and thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
So right now, you are the founder and CEO, and I'm looking at your bio here because it's so much, it's actually hard to keep track of. But you are the founder and CEO of JB Knowledge, which is a multinational technology and consulting company that you started 20 years ago, or you've been bootstrapping for 20 years. So I interpret that to mean you're not owned by anybody else. You
Correct.
don't have a bunch of investors answering
Nope.
to, and this is your baby that you started and still have, and you're doing a lot more than that as well. But that alone is phenomenal. And with that company, you've also created two disruptive insurance tech products. And so for the insurance people or people that are interested in insurance, we'll go into that a little bit as well. And you just finished up a board meeting where you're doing some volunteering for the
Oh,
Texas Southern
Southern.
University
Mm-hmm.
as a region of the governing board. Um, so you're also a give back kind of guy, involved
Yep.
in the community, as well as coming on shows like this and doing lots of other, and having your own show, the
Yeah.
Insure Tech Geek podcast. So you have a
Yeah.
podcast as well. Um, but why don't we start out, because I'll let you do most of the talking. They want to hear from you. Why don't we start out with, you're in a dorm room at Texas A&M, and you have this idea. People talk about entrepreneurship. Is there in business school, is there a precipitating event? Or is it sort of a passion or something that you fell into? Were you entrepreneurial as a child? Let's go back, way back. Uh,
Yeah. I always like going all the way back to the beginning. I was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. My dad was a lifelong entrepreneur. He didn't have any role model for that. His father was a very poor farmer in southern Mississippi. My dad went to the Navy when he turned 18 to be able to eat regularly, honestly, and did the Navy for a few years, and then went to LSU in Baton Rouge. And then when he got out, he ended up starting a business out of his garage, and then he ended up building and selling four companies. And that's the example that I had growing up. And so he, you know, taught me everything he knew my whole childhood. And then I went to Texas A&M and was in the Corps of Cadets there, and was a accounting major. Did a couple of internships as an auditor with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and really did not enjoy. Loved the firm, nice people, but did not enjoy, traveling 5 days every week, sitting in a cubicle with two other guys, reviewing audit findings. I just didn't see that as my future. I mean, that's it's somebody's calling. It's just not mine. And so I went back to my dorm room after my first internship, and called my dad. I'm like, hey, let's start a business. And my dad refused to employ me. He would never let me work for him. He told me I would never own or work in any of his companies. He said I had to do it on my own. And so he gave me a few $1,000s of seed capital as a loan and investment. So he became my partner. And then I went to one of my high school best friends, Sebastian Costa, who's my right-hand man in life at this point. We've been partners now 23 years. And the three of us got JB Knowledge off the ground. Me from my dorm room, Sebastian from his bedroom, and my dad, was our advisor and financial backer. Although the total backing ended up being about $68,000 total. So it really was. That's why we say we're bootstrapped, because we never raised money. Friends and family around usually these days is over $1 million, and the total cash consumed for us was 68K, and we paid that off in the first 2 years. So really, we decided to go and build enterprise grade software for small to medium enterprise, and by 2004 we found insurance as a sector we wanted to work in, and in 2006 a friend of my father's told us we should focus on construction bidding. And so while we were doing professional services, custom software for insurance, we went and built a construction bidding product that we licensed called SmartBid. And that ended up being a runaway hit. And we sold it in 2018 and kept all the people and pivoted into building insurance products. And so today, 280 people, of those, about 155 work in our professional services group selling time. and the balance work, 100, whatever that is, 125 work in our product division producing Terra, which is a claims policy compliance platform for insurance carriers, TPAs, self-insured groups. And so it's been a really interesting ride. But if you go back to the beginning, I went to a really great middle school and high school that were engineering magnet schools focused on engineering and software development. And I learned so much about computer science and software development from age 11 through 17. And then, went to a wonderful university, had a great experience, met a lot of great people. My first 8 clients were all Aggies. And that's kind of what led to the whole thing. And bootstrapping was the only thing I knew how to do because it's what my dad did and it's what I did. And that's how we ended up here today with no investors, no debt at all, not a single loan on the books, no investors. And we determine our own destiny every day.
Well, and you are a best-selling author. One of your books was Be Your Own VC. And I'll just read it out here. 10 bootstrapping principles to generate cash and keep control. So that's going to be interesting because obviously you've lived that, done that, and now you're passing that on. And your
Yeah.
father did that too. And of course, a lot of people would love to do that because they may not have the friends and family, or there may be too many obligations, responsibilities, hooks. And who really wants to go ask your friends and family for money to
Yeah.
start with sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah, and raising money, if you go the raising money route, that becomes your full-time job as a CEO or a near full-time job. I have a lot of friends on that train, and I'm actually a limited partner at a few different VC funds, so I'm on the other side of the transaction. But I'll tell you it's a tough job because you got to make investors happy, you got to raise a lot of money, and you got to raise the next round and then round and the next round, and those funds have expiration dates, and you gotta sell it often before you want to. So it's an interesting ride, and I think that it's for some people. It just wasn't for me. And raising friends and family money is pretty nerve-wracking because people put sometimes a significant portion of their money into your business, and then you have all the family fallout that happens if you can't pay it back. And so just learning the core disciplines of bootstrapping, I think is really important. And I can tell you, I've guest lectured in business colleges for years, and I was an adjunct professor at Texas A&M as well, and I'm on the board of a university now. Business schools don't really teach bootstrapping. They teach all the mechanics of corporations, and then they'll talk about fundraising and pitching and pitch decks, but they don't dive into the principles of how to actually do it yourself. And so I thought it was an important topic to write about.
I'll say. Would you like to share? You already shared some, but do you have any more highlights of that you would like to share?
Yeah, I mean,
Like this?
there's 10. I mean, number one, cash is king. Talk about that a lot. I mean, a lot of people lose sight of the fact that they've got to manage cash flow all the time and think about cash flow all the time. They'll look at EBITDA, and as Charlie Munger used to say, EBITDA is a pretty worthless number to look at in a lot of regards. It's useful in some regards, but pretty worthless in many others. You got to look at cash generation. Number two, you got to get out and stay out of debt. I'm a hardcore Dave Ramsey guy, and personally, you got to get out and stay out of debt. Professionally, you got to get out and stay out of debt. In '08, we had the massive Great Recession. The companies that really got nailed were the ones that were in debt. When COVID hit, the ones that really got nailed were the ones in debt because those debt payments come in right now. All those commercial real estate companies that are loaded up with debt on their commercial office buildings are going under one after another, because they can't weather this storm of having to repurpose commercial office space for other uses. And I'm watching another one go down every day, right? And it's because of debt. So debt's really tough. Number three, build what you have to, so you build what you want to. I call this kind of the core mantra of bootstrapping, is that you have to build a cash generating machine that you might not exactly like doing, so that you can generate cash that allows you to build what you really want to build. And so there's almost like a two-step process. It's sometimes the cash generating machine is the dream that you had, but often the dream you have needs a cash generating machine to build it. And so that's a huge principle of bootstrapping. I always say the number one rule of business is to survive, in particular in bootstrapping. So you got to have a little bit of a paranoid. My dad always said only the paranoid survive. So you have to have a little bit of a paranoid perspective to make sure your business can survive pandemics, recessions, downturns, natural disasters, client departures. And then moving on, you got to choose your partners carefully. Number 6, you got to get out and sell. I say the CEO should stand for Chief Evangelizing Officer. You've got to be the chief spokesperson as the CEO, and you got to be willing to get out and sell. I still, after 23 years, I was on sales calls yesterday. I got sales calls today. I got sales calls every day. I still hoof it and do presentations and demos, and I work trade show booths. The really good CEOs, are the chief evangelists. Number 7, you got to be willing to rewrite rules, but not your values. You got to stick to your core values, but be willing to reconsider. Maybe your rules aren't exactly the right ones. I learned this big time when we opened up our office in Argentina that I had to rewrite some rules, but stick to my values. Number 8, you got to make innovation a habit and a process. You got to really be habitual about innovation, and and you got to turn it into business process. Number 9, you always get paid last. You got to put yourself as the entrepreneur last in line to get paid. Serve the needs of the organization, make sure it survives. And then lastly, you got to establish and communicate your personal minimums. You got to understand what your limits are when you're building the business, funding the business, operating the business, and selling the business. So those are kind of my 10. When I started this list, I had like 26, and I just boiled it down to my top 10 that have helped us do what we're doing. And it's been really neat. It's now for about a year and a half, and I've had it validated by a lot of bootstrapped entrepreneurs who have read the book and come back and said, yeah, man, nailed it. That's spot on. That's exactly what people need to know.
Well, so let's talk a little bit about the beginning. So you were a talented and hardworking, evidently, programmer. So you knew a lot about software. And um, when you actually first started, how did you get your first client? How did you get, revenue
Yeah.
day
Client
one?
number, I got in my 1995 Ford Mustang, and I drove around and I met with Aggies that I met through my work at Texas A&M as a student. And I was in the Corps, and I met some ex-cadets, and I went to their houses in Dallas and Richardson, Carrollton, Uvalde, Texas. I drove around the state of Texas, and I called on Aggies, and they started hiring me to do independent contractor work. And that's how I got started. My first client was the Texas Aggie Corps Cadets Association. Built their website, built their member database, hired some awesome cadets to help me out with that. And same thing with my second client was a lumber company. The third client was a plastics company. Fourth client was a membership nonprofit organization, and they were all Aggies that gave me a chance. Aggies, we all wear this ring, and it's the same ring since it's been the same ring for over 100 years. And it means something to us. And when I walked in, and they gave me a listen, then they gave me a chance, and they hired me, and we built some really great products together.
And today, are you still doing custom design software for
Yes.
companies that need projects, in addition
Yeah.
to your specialized products of Terra?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Only for insurance though. So we
Okay.
only work in the insurance sector. So yes, before we worked in like 12 industry verticals. Now we work in one, and that's insurance. So now insurance is a huge vertical. I mean, it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. It's not a small business. But we work for carriers, brokers, third-party administrators, pharmacy benefit managers, anybody up and down the value chain in insurance. And so we build a lot of bespoke custom solutions for them. We do this managed maintenance offering where we go in and take over maintenance on their core applications. And then we do some really cool stuff on products, which is Terra. Terra is the product. And the reason you build product is that you can generate recurring revenue that doesn't require you to deliver hours, right? And it's also something that delivers and builds a lot of equity value, as I can testify to when we sold SmartBid. That's why you do it. Terra is still a small, beginning stages company, and again, all product companies are highly speculative in the early years, and so we're investing heavily. It's been a lot of fun to be back at the beginning, and scrapping and finding our first couple of clients and going live with them and seeing how it goes. It's I mean, the beginning part of the journey often is the most fun because you're finding your niche, and you're finding your solution, and you're figuring things out. And that's definitely where we're at there. And so far so good. The services business continues to be a source of joy, and it's been a lot of fun for us as well. I've been doing it for 23 years, so I really enjoy it.
Right. And I know, I believe you said it was your dad that said, hey, maybe you should check out insurance, but could you talk a little bit about, because there is an awful lot of expertise and focus that you have. It's a massive industry, so it's focused on a massive industry, which helps. But obviously, there was some crucial decisions at that point. So can
Yeah,
you share
no,
about that?
it was an ex-cadet buddy of mine that told me my dad's friend told us about the construction opportunity. A friend of mine who was in the Corps with me told me about insurance, and then we got our first client there and started building software for them. And that's really when I saw the industry and saw the opportunity. It was just too good to pass up. The insurance needs a lot of been really fun to work on.
Are you so you're speaking, you've been to TED, you've written books, you've spoken at, can you hear me now? Okay. Uh
Yeah,
at
I can hear now.
yeah, at the Future of Insurance USA. Um Before we get to that though, I was going to talk about what your plans are going forward. Talk a little bit about the VC side, being on the other side, because there is there's a love-hate relationship with entrepreneurs and VCs in my experience.
That's for
They
sure.
want the help, they want the money, they want the board. VCs got to make sure there's financial discipline. You're an entrepreneur, so I'm sure you're sympathizing with the entrepreneurs, but yet VCs can really help entrepreneurs too.
Yeah, absolutely they can. Yeah, absolutely they can. They can.
And
It's but there is a very contentious relationship there with many of them, right? It's the VCs want their money and they want their return, and you know, and they can be quite merciless about that. And so it can be difficult. Um, that being, look, again, cash is king, and you got to accept that as an entrepreneur, that if you raise money from someone, you owe it back. That's why I've never believed in companies celebrating when they raise rounds of investment. Um, I think it's really premature. I think you should celebrate when you get your first sale. I think you should celebrate when you get your second and third, and when you become profitable. And those are great things to celebrate, but not raising money because you just you owe someone a lot of money back.
you just
So
took on a
it's
big responsibility and a big obligation and a big
you did,
commitment.
yeah,
Yeah.
you did, and so I think that's something that they have to keep in mind.
Well, what do you see going forward? Some people would say, okay, you're still a young guy, but you could hang it up. You could say, okay,
Uh-huh.
I'm retiring. I don't see that based on getting to know you, that that's in
No,
your DNA. So what are you playing for? I mean, it just keeps expanding all the things you're doing, from your show to your book to your speaking to your company
sure.
to new products.
Sure, yeah, we really my business partner Sebastian, who's my chief operating officer, he and I do this together. He's incredible, amazing guy. My leadership team that leads Terra and JB Knowledge is incredible. We've got incredible people that have worked with me for a very long time. Our top leadership team has been with me 20 years plus. Our next level has been with me 15 years plus. And you definitely, when you're an entrepreneur and you build a business, take an obligation um your people at some level, to and you also get to do exciting things with them. And I've watched so many entrepreneurs really struggle after they sold something. That's when we sold SmartBid. It was important that we keep the people, because I really wanted to build something. Again, I'm 44. I've got a lot of runway left, and I'm a pilot, so I think of terms in runway, right? If you got a lot of runway left, you got to,
Yeah.
you use it, build some more ground speed, and then take off. I mean, yeah, I've got a lot more runway left in my life. It's really fun. It's enjoyable. My children are almost grown. My oldest is a year from going to college. My next one's in high school now, and so there's a lot to be excited about, and it's also really fun. Sebastian and I like building product. We like delivering professional services. We like having a niche. We enjoy this, and there's only so much golf you can play, right? I mean, that's just I think that building things is what people are called to do. I mean, look at Warren Buffett. He's in his 90s and he's still handling. I was watching his interview from his recent annual conference, and he lost. His right. His Sebastian was Charlie Munger, right? And and again, I'm not comparing us to them, right? They've built one of the largest enterprises in the history of mankind. So I'm not comparing us to them. I'm just saying that they did it for the joy of it. It was fun, and it's great building things, and it's great solving problems, and it's great having a mission in life, something to do. I think that recreation is a poor substitute for a real mission, and a lot of people really struggle with just having a recreational lifestyle. I think it can be pretty empty, and so that's also why I engage in public service. Why I serve on the board of Southern. Why I was a city councilman before this. These are unpaid volunteer positions. I think it's important that you back along the way. It's a pleasure. I'm made to work, and Henry, I'm made to work. That's why I'm here on earth to work. I have a lot of fun as well, but I'm here to work.
I can see that. And my dad always told me, and my brother and sister, find something that you like to do, find something that you love to do, find something you're passionate about for your work, because you're going to spend a large part of your life doing it. And even if you don't need to do it, you want to do it because you want to do it. Um, there's a saying that the founder of Sam Walton, everybody probably knows Sam Walton, but of Walmart, he said, the idle rich business never much interested me. And we're a fortunate society. You get to a certain point and your needs are met, and there's always more money you can spend on. So I think for many people like you, it goes beyond that to the purpose, the mission. It's inspiring to hear
Yeah,
you say that. So
yeah,
how
it's
how do
fun.
you and your employees? So last thing maybe, or one of the last things, you've got all these people that have been with you for 20 years. That's uh, a manager's dream, if you will. That's success. Everybody's coalesced. How do you do that?
How do we keep them there for that long?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I can guess from what you're saying, but I want to hear from you.
yeah. First
Because they
off,
obviously are talented. They'd have other options, but they want
they're
to
they're
stay
they're
with this
they're they're
company with
they're
you.
they're 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 very talented, and they definitely have other options. I think it's really important first that you have an operator for the business that's incredible. That's Sebastian. I'm the externally facing one. I set the goal. I say I stand on top of the hill and say we're going over there, and then I go help get the clients and land the deals and do the speaking engagements. I'm very externally focused. He's very internally focused. He's very in tune and in touch with the organization. We've got a brilliant chief administrative officer, Mauricio. We've got brilliant division leads in Diego and Armand. We've got a brilliant creative director in Pablo. We've got brilliant account managers who just love their accounts and love their teammates underneath them and are focused on building leaders and building great teams that function well. People don't work for companies, they work for other people. So I think like the most important thing is to remember that all of your people work for other people. And so you do have to actually give a crap about them. Like you got to care. So number one thing, give a crap. Like you care about them and what their goals are and what they want to do, and uh, figure out how to challenge them. Like give them a sense of purpose. Show them what you want to do. Sell them on why they should do it. Don't just tell them why they should do it. There's a lot of those things. Get them excited about the future of the product and the company. Make yourself available. Uh, you know, don't you know? Don't be that person that they can't reach. If they email you or they message you on Teams or they text message you, get back to them. That's there's a lot of people mess up. And look, I've definitely had plenty of my share of failings as a leader at this business. Um, but if you want to build great teams, have them stay with you a long time. It's hard work, and if you don't love them at some level, you're gonna have a hard time doing that. You know, they're not interchangeable. Now you can replace them. You can replace people, um, but it's not that simple. Right? It's never that simple because you have knowledge and experience and desire and passion, and so you gotta make sure that you're recruiting the best team possible. there are people in organizations that do really, really well in high turnover environments. I mean, look at Nick Saban. That guy won national title after national title after national title. He had a complete turnover in his coaching staff every 4 years and a complete turnover in his player staff about every three. And he still kept winning national titles because for him, it was, system first, system first. And the people were very highly interchangeable. I couldn't operate in that environment. Now, I'd love to have as much success as Nick Saban had, but I can't. I could not handle that level of turnover, and so I really appreciate my folks. And when I go with my account managers when they do their quarterly stewardship reports for our service clients, I travel with them. I sit in their meeting. They present. I take notes on their presentation style, what they did right, what they did wrong. We meet afterwards, and I coach them every single time. Here's what you did right. Here's what you did wrong. Here's what you got to work on. Right. And you've got to do that too, but I can't underemphasize the importance of having a great operating partner like I have with Sebastian, someone who's internally focused and really dealing in the details, because I don't get into the details of how people are managed. Having a great chief administrative officer or CFO like Mike Mauricio, who runs the HR organization, plus a lot else that, I believe in really good HR. And I think that's another really important part of the organization. So we've got a great HR group. Yeah.
How did it come about that you expanded internationally? That's a big step for
Yeah,
many companies.
we did that early in '02, so 22 years ago.
Okay.
Sebastian's from Argentina. We were competing against firms from India and Ukraine all over the place, and so we had to have an answer for that level of competition, and we found it in Sebastian's home country. And that's how it happened. We got into South Africa through Marie LaRue. Marie, was working for us and moved back home to South Africa from Argentina, and we started an office with her. So it was really, we just followed our people, and it solved a really big problem for us.
So to wrap up, very interesting and exciting, dynamic interview. Thank you. And
My my pleasure.
to wrap up, or if there's anything you want to add, please do. More creation, more fun, more supporting your employees, more business, more products, more life. You can add to that, I'm
Yeah,
sure. But,
yeah.
uh,
For me, more flying. I'm a pilot, and I love to fly. I really enjoy the taking off and soaring over the country. It's incredible. My dad was a pilot. My mom was a pilot. My mom's dad was a pilot. I'm one, and
wow,
so
wow.
that's certainly a big passion of ours in our family, and for me, I really enjoy public service. I enjoyed being a elected city councilman. I enjoyed being a governor appointed regent. Now I enjoy public service. I love business, but my my kids are really they're the one I call them every call or text. Sometimes they prefer text, and we do coaching on their career. My 17-year-old wants to be a Broadway star, and so we're doing a lot of coaching around that. And she's at a wonderful school called the Interlochen Arts Academy. That's a boarding school for the performing arts, and she's going to be a senior next year, and she wants to go to Broadway. So she'll probably New York or Boston. And my soon-to-be freshman in high school is just a brilliant performer and cheerleader and brilliant mind. She wants to live in Hawaii and surf and be a marine biologist. And we just got back from a 4-day trip out there to check out University of Hawaii, and we went scuba diving, and she and I discovered a new passion in scuba diving. And so my girls kind of mean the world to me. They're incredible, and I enjoy my time with them. And it's life is good. You even when you got storms in your life and you got things going on, I think you just got to find stuff you enjoy. I'm in a dance troupe. We practice every week. I do 3 to 5 hours a week of ballroom dancing and salsa and tango and bachata. I mean, you gotta find stuff you enjoy doing outside of that 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week of work. And so I think I always tell my employees, like work hard here, but then find something to geek out on outside of work. So you're not just going home and watching TV. I think watching TV is the waste of all human society. Just sitting down and watching any kind of long format video, or just zoning out on Instagram Reels or TikTok for 3 hours. What a waste of a brain! What a waste of a life! What a waste of your time! Instead of watching people do things, go do things. And for me, that's flying, and it's obviously business, and then my kids, and then flying, and then um, you know I also play piano and guitar and sing on a dance troupe. I love music and the arts. I mean, there's so much to enjoy, and I kind of feel like I've got so little time. I've got 40 years, maybe if I'm lucky, to try and master a few things and then really enjoy this creation God's created. And it's I don't know, I think that if you have that, then if you got hard days at work, hard days in your personal life, it it's a good way to manage the difficulties, is to have some creative things to plow your brain into. And so, trying to answer your question, what's next, what's now, that's it.
All around good advice from where I sit. And thank you for sharing openly and candidly and honestly.
Sure, always.
Uh, James Benham, JB Knowledge on entrepreneurs, business, and finance. Thank you, James. Oh, please.
Thanks. Yeah, and if anybody has any information, or they need any information, they can go to jamesbenham.com. That's James Benham, jamesbenham.com. You can subscribe to the podcast, get on my newsletter, check out my book, go to the companies that I have, check it all out there. And then if there's one social media place I really spend time, it's LinkedIn. So you can hit me up on LinkedIn as well. Thanks, Henry.
Fantastic. Thank you.